Okay, I kind of want to unpack this a lot today. I guess I'm going to unpack it slowly is what I'm trying to say, because I know there are a lot of people who watch me internationally, and sometimes I want to make sure that we're not way too in the details and it still makes sense to you, because there are very severe implications of what's happening in America, obviously. We used that caption, "One Nation Under Blackmail," for a reason. We've been speaking about a lot about blackmail on the show as we go through the JFK files. And yesterday we left off, and I was telling you about this mommy blogger, and some of you guys didn't understand why we were getting into this. You thought she was just some jealous woman, middle-aged woman who went a little nutty, attacking me for inexplicable reasons. We explained to you that her name is Jessica Reed Crouse. She has 4 children. And I had assumed initially that there really was nothing sinister that was happening here, perhaps too many drinks and some weird midlife crisis jealousy that was going on. And I wasn't really suited to diagnose her. I was really laughing through the entire thing because everything she was writing was just, like I said, so nutty. It was crazy, accusing me of having hidden wealth and saying she's going to expose me, going after her best friends. I mean, she got even crazier on Instagram. It just seemed like everything was coming down for her. And I am here today to tell you that I was wrong. There was a lot more going on here than initially met the eye, and it is so much more complicated and more demented than I could have ever imagined, especially when you start to realize this woman has access to Donald Trump and she's bragging about it, and she's talking about her White House sources and accusing me of anti-Semitism. And I now believe that this involves RFK Jr. and the Maha movement. And we're going to go there because I really don't care. Okay. So I'm going to recap a couple of things for you. Her online moniker, Jessica Reed Crouse, is House in Habit. She's been around for years and only kind of made her way into the MAGA movement recently when she said, sort of, "I used to be a far left-leaning liberal feminist, and some people woke me up about it, and the MAGA movement could not have been more welcoming to her." And it was basically, she said, the story of her husband that made her realize that something was amiss. And generally speaking, you probably have realized I've abstained a lot from politics, because when you get up close to a lot of these people, everyone's just kind of a liar, and how they position themselves and trying to care about family values, and you find out everybody's drinking and drunk and sleeping with one another. And I just sort of had enough of that when I started my family and I pulled away. And remarkably, it has not stopped people from trying to attack me and my family. It doesn't make me a victim. I have felt very protected, especially as I rededicated my life, I should say, to God. But it is something that I have noticed has increased over the last year or so, especially since I've gone independent. Particularly when we were speaking about House and Habit, the reason we were covering her was because she published a blog in which she accused me and, rather conspicuously, Tucker Carlson and Ian Carroll. So if you don't remember Ian Carroll, he went on Joe Rogan. He also had this back forth with Elon Musk that went viral. He has asserted himself as a person who was on TikTok. Literally, he started going down the grocery aisles and being like, "Who owns all of these junk food brands?" And then he started taking a look at some old conspiracies and has really made a name for himself as someone who is willing to speak out against Israel and has amassed a following of millions, okay? And it was interesting that in one fell swoop, she decided to go after me, Tucker Carlson, and Ian Carroll. And the things that she said about us were either weird or just factually untrue. She accused Tucker Carlson of being an Iranian propagandist, as an example, in this piece. And what was strange about that is she was almost mining the trust of her viewers, her readers, and being like, and I like Tucker Carlson. And what was random about the slight was that, similar to me, Tucker Carlson had been so nice to her leading up to this moment. He had been overly kind to her. She got to go backstage with him when he was on tour, and she wrote a glowing piece about Tucker Carlson in her Substack in October of last year. Literally, this was published in October of last year, backstage with Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones. And similarly, this mommy blogger, when she went on stage and was invited to speak about her transformation, she gave a speech and she spoke to people and did podcasts claiming that Candace Owen, saved her marriage and made her wake up to things and realign her beliefs. So I want you to take a listen to that clip of her, and she is speaking with Alex Clark of Turning Point USA. Take a listen.
It was Candace. And I had always liked her. Like, even as a liberal, I hated the things she was saying, but I liked the way she said them.
Why? What is it about the way she says it?
Well, I think she's, you know, it's like, it's the art of everything, the art of storytelling, the art of gossip, the art of argument. And she's good at what she does. She can defend herself. You can hate it, you can not agree with it, but she is always able to defend her point with, you know.
So is it fair to say Candace Owens saved my marriage?
Is she here? I feel like I need to send her a fruit basket or something.
She wanted to send me a fruit basket. She similarly wrote a glowing piece about me after profiling me in January, reached out to my publicist, said that we should do more work together, moms should stick together. And then magically, guys, and this is really important, magically, like somebody just flipped a switch, something changed. The last couple of weeks, she was suddenly using her Substack to lightly suggest to people, again, she's earned their trust, that they really shouldn't consider my content. And Tucker Carlson's an Iranian. And the last person, Ian Carroll, that she went after, she just lied about, okay? In her Substack piece, she outright lies about him. She claims he stole Whitney Webb's work and didn't properly attribute her, which is just wild. I mean, when Ian Carroll went on Joe Rogan, he spoke extensively about Whitney Webb. He promoted her book. He promoted it on a thread on Twitter. And I thought that actually Whitney Webb's response was rather inglorious. Like, she was saying, well, he didn't perfectly quote my tome of a book, and he was so gracious about it and said, I'm sorry if I made any mistakes. So it was just a weird set of attacks, because I'm going, what does Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, and Ian Carroll have in common? Especially to then say something as petty as I'm copying her and trying to rebrand. That in and of itself, to me, registered as a conspiracy, because something you should know about neocons, the forever war, send American sons and daughters to die perpetually overseas, in lands and territories that they don't recognize, is that one thing that they have in common is that you must worship Israel, the foreign state. And here you have three independent voices who are being smeared and libel, who don't do that, and who truly are not being controlled by anybody else, despite the implications of these pieces. Well, yesterday, actually, rather, it was this morning, yesterday, last night, I heard about it. We discovered something that was quite shocking, and I would say conspiratorial indeed, okay? So the writer who came forward to me and said that she was told to work on a larger piece, and she admitted, I didn't like you, I had beef with you anyways. But then House and Habit, Jessica Reed Crouse, came to me and asked me to work on a larger piece about you. And Meghan McCain, neocon number one, whose dad just sort of murdered everybody in the Middle East so that she could live comfortably with her children, okay? John McCain's daughter was salivating in the background, wanting to read this piece, right? Wanted to just see a hit piece done on Candace. And I thought, this is kind of like stupid stuff, and Meghan McCain has hated me forever. Who cares? That woman, Emily Hagan, was very forthcoming, and I think quite honest about the fact that she was really just sort of possessed with a demon and wanted to take me down, and said that the environment that was fostered working for Jessica Reed Crouse kind of allowed for that. Climb on top of each other, try to hurt people, and this is the way we're going to get to the top, okay? Then what happens next was a little bit murky. Now, Emily told me, that it was her who opted to take the piece down. Like, I am the writer, Emily. I am writing this hit piece on Candace. And the hit piece itself got quite conspiratorial because there wasn't anything that she needed to write, okay? So Emily told me she wanted to take the piece down, but House and Habit yesterday, Jessica Reed Crouse was telling the people, no, she was the one who killed the piece. It was me. I killed it on my own Substack because I didn't think it was well written enough. This is what she said on Instagram. Last thing I'll say, I killed the hit piece on Candace. Emily knows that. She even has a copy of the scrapped article if Candace wants to read it. It was too slanderous to post. I explained this to her, and she went crazy on me. Then I tried to connect Jess Mann to Candace to give additional insight to the story, but Jess later declined. I never hated Candace. I still don't. So she was still trying to paint herself to be the hero of the story, where she called for this hit piece to be written, but then when she read it, it was too slanderous, and she killed it and wrote a softer hit piece via a newsletter. None of it made any sense, but I was like, you know what? It's getting too in the weeds for me. I need to get on and move on in my life. Her side, who knows what the truth is? But then finally it emerged. It emerged, and it's actually really important because Emily then released the text messages showing exactly how the piece ended. And I'm going to show you this message because it makes my blood positively boil, because it's everything that we say about journalists, okay? This is a text message chain between Jessica Reed Crouse, the owner of the Substack, and Emily Hagan. Jessica Reed Crouse writes, so she reads it, we don't know who she is right now, and says that we absolutely cannot publish it as is. She says it sounds too conspiratorial and it's too all over. She thinks it needs to be fine-tuned, and there are really good points to be made with less. She offered to edit it, but would not want anyone to know. She would edit in office. She said it's too 4chan or whatever. Emily writes back, Jessica, I'm not even finished and I'm over it. So she's right now saying, I'm over it. I don't want to do it. House and Habit, Jessica Reed Crouse writes back, she said it should be a clean shot to be impactful. This just makes my blood boil. She said it should be a clean shot. They are speaking about me and my life and a doctored article that they are going to try to make look real, you know, a la I'm now the Justin Baldoni, who is like reading messages about people who are going, we need to make it sound real. We can't find anything on Candace, but whatever we create on Candace, and this is the storyline I told you they're working on, trying to like Andrew Tateify my life when I've been so honest about the lack. Like I literally have seen Andrew Tate 5 times. I understand his platform. I understand why young men follow him. And I'm sorry that I know how to read culture, but they were working on this piece, going to release a conspiracy about me because they couldn't find anything of substance. And when she was revealed of who was overseeing this piece and who was going to personally edit it, we found out that this person was Olivia Nuzzy. Clean shot, Olivia Nuzzy said. It needs to be a clean shot. They are speaking like they are in a station hit squad. So who called the shot? Why, if this is supposed to be Jessica Reed Krause's little mommy blog, is there somebody more senior to her calling the shots and saying, I will personally edit this because this needs to be a clean shot on Candace Owens? Do you guys understand how demented that is? It absolutely infuriates me. They are talking about someone who they know is about to give birth imminently. Okay. They are dragging my publicist to a dinner or a lunch, whatever it was, putting a carrot on the stick saying, oh, Harvey Weinstein's person who put him in prison wants to speak to you. We're thinking it's all friendly. And they're going, no, we need to kill this buck and we need to make sure it's a clean shot. So yeah, this girl's telling the truth. She was not happy about the fact that Olivia Nuzzy was involved in the piece. Here's the second page of the text messages. And she writes back to her, and you're going to be shocked about what we were going to tell you about Olivia Nuzzy. Emily writes back and says, have Olivia write it. I'm over the story. Sorry, LOL. So yes, the writer herself killed the piece. Jessica says, I don't care. I think it's fine to get opinions on stuff. And she writes again, I don't care about this topic anymore. It's old news. Then Jessica tries to save it, says she liked a lot of it, says the other stuff takes away. Then she writes back and says, Emily says, it's not even effing done. I'm really annoyed that she's reading my draft. And Jessica says, I think that's not the point. And Jessica ends it by saying, you are way too emotional over regular editing stuff. So the writer shut down the piece because she was annoyed that Olivia Nuzzy was jumping in on it. And as she told me, she said, there wasn't any substance to it because we couldn't find anything on you. And I just said, this is boring. I don't want to do this anymore. And then Jessica lies about that to her followers and pretends she killed the piece. She then messages my PR and says, I killed the piece. No. The writer was no longer down to publish it because Olivia Nuzzy was involved. Pull her up again. There's a picture of Olivia Nuzzy. Who is this human being? Who is Olivia Nuzzy? Why is she calling shots, clean shots, on people like Candace Owens and directing and being some ghost hand behind the scenes? And it's not, once you understand who Olivia Nuzzy is, shocking that she would go after Tucker Carlson. What's rather shocking is that Jessica Reed Crouse is bragging about how close she is to Donald Trump while having a person who is taking shots at real conservatives in this country. So I'm going to tell you about Olivia Nuzzy. She was a correspondent for New York Magazine. Yes, the one that we just uncovered, that whole weird pedophile senior writer sympathizer. She was a correspondent for New York Magazine from 2017 to 2024. So she had quite a long tenure there. Prior to that, she was a writer for the Daily Beast in 2016, covering Donald Trump and his presidential campaign. I mean, she's vehemently anti-Trump. Here's some of her past writing for the Daily Beast. Illegal voter truther, I'll dox 3 million, Trump's dark forecast for America. Meet the MC of Trump's no glitz big day. Trump vows disclosures, gives garbage. Trump crushes the last never Trump dream. What Trump should have told the press. This girl is calling shots behind the scenes on someone who is close with Trump in the Trump campaign, okay? And so, yeah, she had quite a long tenure at New York Magazine until in September of 2024, New York Magazine had to place her on leave after it was disclosed that she was having an affair with RFK Jr. Now, they both maintained at the time that this was clearly a sexting affair. I now believe nothing that comes out of this woman's mouth because she sat across from my PR agent and pretended she had nothing to do with the House and Habits vlog. Like she didn't want, like she was encouraging her, don't go after Candace. Oh, I'm just like a ditzy blonde. What's going on? So let me tell you something about this young lady that you might find to be really interesting, really interesting. She doesn't come from money and she lost her job. And typically, if you don't come from money and you lose your job, it is not a time to make a cross-country move into one of the wealthiest counties in the United States. But that's what she did. After she lost her job for having an affair or sexting affair, whatever it is they said. And I was inclined to believe RFK Jr. at the time because I've had a soft spot for him, which I'd like to harden a bit right now, because he was the only source when I decided I didn't want to vaccinate my children. And I'm not going to take that away from him. His Children's Health Defense Fund. I am not going to be so petty as to pretend that he was literally the only website. If you wanted to find information about vaccines and learn something different other than what pediatricians were telling you, you really only had RFK Jr.'s charity, Children's Health Defense. And so I was excited about him joining the Trump administration because I have felt that the country has been too polarized. And when it comes to children's health, we shouldn't be left or right. Like moms do need to come together on this and take control and say that doctors have gone too far. And I was supportive of him in that capacity, supportive of him being a person to be brought on in this administration to tear up all the terrible things the CDC has done, which I believe to be a drug cartel. And so when this information came out about his little sexting scandal, I was inclined to believe him. I really was, that it was, and really to kind of look at this woman and say, who is she? Because I thought to myself, was this a honeypot scheme? Was this a person who, like her writings, hates Trump so much that she will do anything to harm any person near him? I didn't cover it. I didn't cover this at all. I don't think at the RFK Jr. sexting scandal because it wasn't something that I personally had investigated and felt confident that I could speak out on. But here's what I do now feel confident that I could speak out on. So she loses her job and Olivia Nuzzy moves to Malibu, California. She moves cross country after being fired to an extraordinarily wealthy county. And you have to ask yourself, how did that happen? Who's paying for that? I mean, she could have had a good saving. She blew up her engagement for this alleged affair. You have to ask, how does someone who is unemployed just think that it's rational to make that sort of a decision? But maybe, okay, want a new life, new air, whatever, go to California. And another question that I have is, now that we know that she does lie to people's faces, is how much money is she making? Okay. How much money is she making, and who exactly is it that is funding her so that she can even afford to eat in Malibu, right? Again, she could be running through her savings account. I don't know. But my suspicion was that Olivia was acting as an intentional honeypot. But then I learned some new things that have me asking more questions, and I'm going to share that with you. The first thing is that yesterday, Jessica Reed Crouse was desperate to protect her identity, okay? Now, with everything going on, we don't need to get into the nitty gritty. She's got her best friend of 14 years who she is exposing and telling people personal details about her former best friend's children. She didn't care about defending her best friend or protecting her best friend. She was sending us dirt on her best friend, actually, to the exact contrary. But she did say to my PR agent, like, Olivia Nuzzy doesn't need to be a part of this. We don't need to put Olivia Nuzzy into this. I'm sorry, aren't you MAGA conservative now? Weren't you doing tons of Substacks about how awful Olivia was? Now you care to protect her? Okay, whatever. Let's not think too much into that. But the other element of this is super interesting. Olivia, currently living in Malibu, which means now she doesn't live in a city, which means now she's got to drive a car, is driving a car. She's driving a foreign car in Malibu, and her license plates, and I'm not giving you the end of the license plates, but her real true license plates are, and I can show you here, RFK 66 blank blank. That is some coincidence. I gotta tell you, okay? Like, I gotta tell you, it's a weird thing. Like, it's not every day that your license plates reflect the sexting scandal that you just had, okay? It's not every day. Who purchased this foreign car? Who got this car to Malibu? Okay, it's a British car. And your license plates are RFK and some numbers. What the hell is going on? Okay. You're being protected by the woman who should be wanting to take you down, the woman who takes photos with RFK's family, RFK's wife, right? And pretends that she just loves the Kennedys so much. Why would she be hanging out with the mistress? Why is the mistress driving around in a car that has got RFK's name on the license plates? And by the way, I checked the YouTube rules. I should be able to show you the entire thing without being accused of doxing, but I don't want to take any risk of this video being taken down, because now we need to look further into RFK. We need to look further into what the hell is going on here. Okay. And they know I'm coming. Okay. They definitely know I'm coming, because you know what, Olivia Nuzzy, you didn't take a clean effing shot. Your shot was not clean enough. Okay? It doesn't seem like you understand rules of the jungle. You were hunting someone and you didn't have the shot. And now I'm coming for you 100%, because I find this whole thing now to positively reek. I am wondering who you are and who pays you to go after certain people, and why it is that Miss Jessica Reed Crouse is bragging about her access to Trump and how much access she has now that we know how she operates in the night, which is vile. She's a vile creature, reading messages about someone who is plotting against you, talking about how it needs to be a clean shot, knowing that they are manufacturing lies, makes you a sick and disturbed individual. Okay, to correct that, that is actually Jessica Reed Crouse's car that she is driving around, and she is pretending that she got it a long time ago. And the car is not registered at all to California. And both of these women are liars. So I don't know whose car it is. I want to be very clear. We have caught both of these women in multiple lies leading up to this. And all we know is that these two women are protecting one another, and they are running a Substack and going after conservatives. And they have access to the president, and we don't know who is funding this. So is the car, which we've looked into and is not properly registered, does that car actually belong to Jessica Reed Crouse? And if it does, why is she lying about how she got that car? Why is it not registered properly? And why is she driving around in this car with RFK Jr.'s mistress? Are things weird here? Yes, they're very weird. And now, suddenly, Jessica Reed Crouse needs a break, you guys. She posted on her Substack saying that she needs to take a step back. And we're going to read that. I mean, she tried to couch it and hide it by also using a quotation from Jessica Mann, but we'll pull these two things apart. This is what she has to say. She writes to her many Substack followers who are unsubscribing at the moment, "My instinct is always to wait until my emotions settle before writing to, quote unquote, explain. Writers are different than podcasters. Live media thrives on immediate response. Words on pages meant to translate experiences come slower and don't go viral. So while I can't expand on or engage with the internet's version of events, the way it's spun and distorted the very messy, very personal loss of a longtime friend and writer, I do want to say this. I deeply regret how it's all played out. I regret my part, and I have, of course, my reaction fired by pain. There is so much behind the scenes that is fueled by, but I'm stunned by how much has been misconstrued to satisfy the audience of seething strangers and boost someone else's live views. She's actually accusing me, the person who survived her hit piece, of just trying to boost my live views. Oh, I'm just trying to have a baby, Jessica, and you're orchestrating clean shots behind the scenes, okay? I asked that a broken friendship not be dragged into a fight over an opinion piece, but that ask was twisted into something else too. You are a liar. I never wanted to, quote, go to war with Candace Owens. In many ways, she's been an ally. We agree on a lot. I regret how this feud unfolded, but I also know that there are hard-earned lessons here. When a major rupture happens, especially one that's ugly and impossible to neatly explain, you see how quickly a narrative can take off, how a viral attack can consume you while you're still processing private heartbreak. I mean, she's so full of it. In this case, it's often easier to surrender to the noise than to defend yourself, because defending yourself means revealing private details that the internet does not deserve, but that would shift the story entirely. There are major parts of this situation missing from the public view. Key elements are being manipulated to fit convenient narratives, and it's all very sad to watch. I trust that you as readers know that the unspoken details are excluded for fair reason, marked by an unfortunate disconnect. In this chaos, I've chosen to step back and away and let people draw conclusions from a limited perspective. They can trash me all they want moving forward. I can only control how I respond. And no, it's not easy. Okay, Jessica Reed Crouse, I believe none of that, okay? You are not a victim here. That should have read is, I am a total piece of crap who got caught being a piece of crap. And I apologize to my readers who believe that anything that I've ever done has ever been authentic, when really I was off to the highest bidder as soon as that bid was made available to me. And we're now going to find out what that bid was. We are going to find out, as I said, this car is not legally registered, who actually owns that car. Is it Olivia Nuzzy, Malibu, or is it Jessica Reed Crouse in Malibu? And yeah, no, I'm not believing lightning struck and RFK is on the plates of this car that you're driving around that is unregistered in Malibu, okay? And I'm not believing that your friendship with her, which you are fighting to protect from the public while taking down your actual friends, is just, out of the blue. There is something sinister going on here. And I want to also add here that the irony in all this for me personally is last night I was thinking about my granddad. And I still very much grieve my grandfather. About, I would say, every 4 months, I will just have a good cry about missing my grandfather. And it's not a sad cry. It's like just going through moments in my life and trying to imagine what his wisdom would be and what an honorable man he was. And I thought to myself last night, the saddest part of the state of affairs today in America is we do not have honorable men. We don't have honorable men anymore. We have the most despicable, disgusting men and women pretending to lead the charge, people who are the most undeserving of platforms, the most undeserving of fans, and who will literally say and do whatever behind the scenes if it means they get invited to the right party. We're disgusting. We have just become a nation that should hang its head in shame. Judas culture, betrayal, backstabbing, harming one another, going after families who have done nothing to you for the sheer sport because someone says, I don't know, we got to take down Candace Owens. And we know that there's a lot of that going on in DC, but my grandfather was an honorable man, and we are just now a culture of dishonor.